It was just another quiet morning for Alex. He lived a simple life in a small town on Earth, away from the noise of big cities and the chaos of the world. Every day was the same. He would wake up early, have his coffee, read the news, and spend the rest of his day fixing old machines in his garage. He never asked for much, all he wanted was peace. But that all changed the moment he decided to take a walk in the forest. The sun was just starting to rise when Alex decided to take a different path than usual. His feet crunched on the leaves as he walked deeper into the woods. He had no particular reason for going this way. He just felt an urge to explore. As he walked, a strange humming sound caught his attention. At first, he thought it was the wind, but the sound grew louder. Curious, Alex followed the noise until he stumbled upon something that would change his life forever. There, hidden in a small clearing, was something he could never have imagined. A spaceship. It was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. Its surface was shiny and smooth, with strange symbols glowing faintly across its hull. The ship was still and silent, as though it had crash-landed in the woods. Alex's heart raced. He couldn't believe his eyes. Was this a dream? Was it a movie set? He had to get closer. Cautiously, Alex approached the ship. As he reached out to touch it, the hatch suddenly opened with a hiss. From inside, two small figures staggered out. They were children, but they looked nothing like any human child Alex had ever seen. Their skin was a soft shade of blue. Their eyes glowed brightly with an unnatural light, and their hair shimmered in hues Alex could only describe as otherworldly. They looked lost, confused, and most of all, afraid. Alex took a step back. His heart was pounding, his breath quickening. These were not ordinary children, these were beings from another world. He had no idea how or why they were here, but one thing was clear: something had brought them to Earth for a reason. The smaller of the two, a girl with bright silver hair, reached out to him with trembling hands. She spoke in a language Alex couldn't understand, her voice soft but urgent. He couldn't make out the words, but the desperation in her eyes was enough to make his heart ache. Without thinking, Alex knelt down and gently placed his hand on hers. The boy, who was slightly older than the girl, looked around nervously. He seemed to be scanning the area as if expecting someone, or something, to show up. His hands were shaking, and his eyes darted to the sky. Alex had no idea what was going on, but he could feel the weight of the moment. These children were in danger. Suddenly there was a loud sound, a thrum of energy vibrating through the ground. Alex's eyes widened as he looked up. From the sky, dark, shadowy figures appeared, zooming towards them. They were ships, sleek and menacing, their engines emitting a harsh mechanical hum. The ships hovered above them for a moment, casting a cold, oppressive shadow over the forest. The children gasped, their bodies tense with fear. They recognized the ships. Alex didn't understand what was happening, but the fear in their eyes was enough to tell him that these ships were not friendly. Alex's instincts kicked in. He didn't know why, but he couldn't let these children be taken. He didn't know what was at stake or who was chasing them, but one thing was clear: he had to protect them. Without thinking, Alex grabbed the children's hands and pulled them toward the woods. He didn't know where he was going, but he couldn't let the ships catch them. He ran, his heart pounding in his chest, the children stumbling behind him. He could hear the ships closing in, their engines roaring in the air. He pushed through the dense trees, his mind racing with questions. Why? Were these kids here? Who were those ships, and most importantly, what did they want with the children? As Alex ran, he glanced over his shoulder to see the ships following them. They were getting closer, their shadowy figures looming in the sky above. The children were falling behind, too tired to keep up. Alex knew he had to do something. He couldn't let them be caught. He looked around desperately, searching for a way to hide them. Then, out of nowhere, a light appeared in the distance. It was bright and flickering, almost as if it was calling to him. Without hesitation, Alex pulled the children toward it. As they neared the light, Alex realized it was coming from another ship, one that appeared to be abandoned. The doors were open, and the interior was dimly lit, but it seemed like the perfect place to hide. Alex pushed the children inside and slammed the door shut just as the ships overhead passed by. The children collapsed on the floor, breathing heavily from the run. Alex leaned against the wall, his heart still racing. He didn't know what was happening, but he knew one thing. His life had just changed forever. He looked at the children, who were now resting on the cold metal floor of the ship. They looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. They didn't speak, but their silence said everything. They were grateful, but they were also terrified. They didn't know who to trust. But Alex had just given them hope. In that moment, Alex knew that he was no longer just a quiet man living a simple life. He was now part of something much bigger, a battle that stretched across the universe, with the fate of countless lives hanging in the balance. And somehow he was the one who had been chosen to protect these children. But as he looked at their faces, he realized that this was only the beginning. What would happen next? What was the universe planning for him? Only time would tell. As the door of the ship slammed shut behind them, Alex felt a brief sense of relief. The children were safe for now. But the threat was far from over. His heart was still racing, and the adrenaline coursing through his veins told him that they weren't out of danger yet. The dark ships had passed by, but they would surely return. The silence inside the abandoned vessel was eerie. The air was cold, and the hum of the ship's ancient engines was the only sound that filled the space. The children were huddled together in the corner, their eyes wide and filled with fear. Alex knelt down beside them, trying to offer some comfort, though he wasn't sure how. He had no idea who these children were or where they came from, but one thing was clear. They needed him. He had to protect them no matter the cost. The boy who had been quiet since they hid inside the ship finally spoke. His voice was soft but urgent. "They're coming for us," he said. "They've been following us for days." Alex looked at him, his brow furrowing. "Who's after you? And why?" The boy glanced nervously toward the window, where the shadows of the dark ships were still visible in the sky. "The Zorak," the boy whispered, his voice trembling. "They're a race of hunters. They destroy everything they touch. Our planet, our people, they've wiped them all out. Only we survived, and now they want us too." Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He had no idea who the Zorak were, but the terror in the boy's voice made it clear that they were a force to be reckoned with. These weren't just ordinary alien invaders, these were creatures of pure destruction, and Alex had just become a part of a battle that was much bigger than he had ever imagined. Before Alex could ask more questions, the girl, who had been silent up until now, spoke. "We have to go," she said softly. "We can't stay here. The Zorak will find us. We need to get to the Council of the Stars. It's our only hope." "The Council of the Stars?" Alex asked, confusion clouding his thoughts. "Where is that?" "It's hidden," the girl explained, her voice steady now. "Far from here, but it's the only place where we can find safety." Alex didn't understand everything they were saying, but he knew one thing. He couldn't stay in this abandoned ship forever. The Zorak would come back, and when they did, there would be nowhere to hide. They needed to get moving. He stood up and looked around the ship. It wasn't much, but it seemed to have a small navigation console at the front. It was old and dusty, but Alex hoped he could figure it out. He turned to the children. "We have to move. Can you show me how to get to this Council of the Stars?" The boy nodded. "We can guide you," he said. "But we have to leave quickly." Alex didn't hesitate. He moved toward the console, his hands shaking slightly as he tried to activate it. The controls were unfamiliar, but after a few moments the ship hummed to life. The lights flickered on and the ship's engines roared as it powered up. "Hold on," Alex called to the children, his voice filled with determination. "We're going to make it." The ship slowly lifted off the ground, the trees of the forest disappearing beneath them as they ascended into the sky. Alex looked out the window and saw the dark ship still hovering above the forest, searching for them. The Zorak were relentless. But Alex was determined. He wouldn't let these children fall into their hands. Not if he could help it. As the ship shot into the vastness of space, Alex's mind raced. He had no idea what he was getting into. He had never been a fighter, never been involved in anything larger than his own quiet life. But now, he was part of a war between good and evil, light and darkness, and he was standing on the front lines protecting these two alien children. They were his responsibility now. The journey was long, and the ship traveled through uncharted space away from the familiar stars of Earth. Alex kept the ship on course, using the brief instructions the children had given him. As they traveled deeper into the unknown, the alien children shared their story with him. "We come from the planet Zalran," the boy explained. "It was once a beautiful place, full of life and peace. But the Zorak came, and they destroyed everything. Our people tried to fight, but they were too strong. We were the last to escape, but they'll keep coming for us no matter where we go." Alex listened intently, his heart heavy with sympathy for these children. They had lost everything, their families, their home, their world. And now they were running, looking for a place to hide. The Council of the Stars, wherever it was, seemed to be their last hope. As they passed through the stars, Alex couldn't help but wonder what kind of force could destroy entire worlds. The Zorak sounded like a terrifying enemy, and he feared that the children's story was only the beginning of something much darker. The ship continued its journey, and Alex kept his eyes on the stars ahead, hoping that they were headed in the right direction. But with every passing minute, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the Zorak were closer than ever. The darkness of space seemed to stretch on forever, and with each passing moment, the stakes grew higher. The children were exhausted, and Alex could see the fear in their eyes, but they refused to rest. They had a mission, a destiny they had to fulfill. Alex, too, felt the weight of that mission. They had to reach the Council of the Stars. It was their only chance. But with the Zorak hunting them, time was running out. The journey had been long, and Alex was starting to feel the weight of it. The vast emptiness of space seemed endless, and the farther they traveled, the more uncertain the future became. The children had told him little about the Council of the Stars, only that it was their last hope. But now, as the ship sped toward its destination, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The Zorak were relentless. He had seen the dark ships chasing them from the moment they left Earth's atmosphere. They had followed them through the stars, and Alex knew they would stop at nothing to capture the children. The thought of what would happen to them if they fell into the hands of the Zorak made his stomach turn. He couldn't let that happen. He had to protect them. But how? Alex had never been a soldier. He had never fought in a war, never been part of something so dangerous. He was just an ordinary man who had been caught up in something far beyond his control. But when the children looked at him with their glowing eyes, full of trust, he couldn't turn away. He had made a promise to protect them, and he would keep that promise, even if it meant facing the greatest danger of his life. The ship was silent except for the soft hum of the engines. The children were sitting quietly, their eyes fixed on the stars outside the window. They were scared, Alex could tell. He could feel their fear even if they didn't speak about it. They had been through so much already, losing their home, their families, everything they knew. And now they were depending on him to keep them safe. "We're getting close," the boy said suddenly, his voice soft but steady. "The Council of the Stars is just ahead." Alex nodded, though he wasn't sure if he believed it. They had been traveling for so long, and yet he still didn't know if they were truly headed in the right direction. The vastness of space was overwhelming, and the uncertainty of their situation weighed heavily on him. Just then the ship shook violently, sending Alex stumbling to the ground. The children screamed, and Alex quickly scrambled to his feet. He looked out the window, his heart sinking. The dark ships were back. "They found us," the boy said, his voice trembling. "They're here." Alex's mind raced. They had to get out of there. They couldn't let the Zorak catch them. But the Zorak were fast, faster than anything Alex had ever seen. They were closing in on them, and Alex knew they didn't have much time. "What do we do now?" Alex asked, his voice tense with urgency. The girl, who had been quiet until now, spoke. "We need to reach the council. It's our only chance. We can't stop now." Alex took a deep breath. He couldn't afford to hesitate. He had to make a decision, and he had to make it quickly. He gripped the controls of the ship, his fingers trembling as he adjusted the speed. They were running out of fuel, and there was no way to outrun the Zorak. But maybe, just maybe, there was something else he could do. With a quick glance at the children, Alex made a split-second decision. He activated the ship's cloaking device. For a moment, everything went silent. The ship was invisible to the naked eye, hidden from the Zorak ships that were closing in on them. Alex exhaled in relief, but the sense of danger wasn't over. The Zorak ships would still be searching, still trying to find them. They had to keep moving, keep heading toward the council. But now, Alex had a new problem. The cloaking device was draining the ship's power faster than expected. They wouldn't have much time before they were completely powerless. He had to act fast. "Can you guide me?" Alex asked the children. "Where do we go from here?" The boy nodded. "Straight ahead. But you have to be quick. The Zorak won't stop until they catch us." Alex gritted his teeth and steered the ship toward their destination. The stars outside the window blurred as they sped through space, the quiet hum of the ship the only sound. The cloaking device continued to drain the ship's power, but Alex had no choice. He couldn't let the Zorak catch them. He couldn't let these children down. As the minutes passed, the tension in the ship grew. Alex kept his eyes on the controls, his hands steady despite the pressure. The children were silent now, their eyes focused on the stars ahead, knowing that their fate and Alex's was tied to what came next. Suddenly, the ship lurched again and the lights flickered. Alex cursed under his breath. The Zorak were getting closer. He could feel it. He had to push the ship to its limits. There was no turning back now. And then in the distance, a faint glow appeared. It was small at first, but it grew brighter, the closer they got. It was the Council of the Stars. "We're almost there," the boy said, his voice filled with hope. But just as Alex allowed himself to feel a small sense of relief, something else happened. The ship's cloaking device flickered one last time and shut off completely. The ship was now visible to the Zorak ships. "They see us," the girl screamed. Alex's heart pounded as he looked out the window. The Zorak ships were closing in fast. They were almost upon them. The Council of the Stars was so close, yet so far away. Alex had only one choice left. He couldn't outrun them. He couldn't hide. But there was one thing he could do. He turned to the children. "Hold on tight," he said, his voice filled with determination. "I'm not going to let them win." He pushed the ship into overdrive, charging straight toward the council, knowing that the ultimate test was about to begin. The air inside the ship was thick with tension. Alex gripped the controls with white-knuckled hands, the sweat beading on his forehead. His heart was racing as he pushed the ship to its limits, charging straight for the Council of the Stars. The Zorak were closing in, their dark ships like vultures circling a wounded prey. Every moment felt like an eternity, and Alex knew that the outcome of this race would determine the future, not just for him, but for the two alien children whose lives now rested in his hands. "Hold on," Alex shouted to the children, his voice steady despite the overwhelming pressure. His mind raced with thoughts of what would happen if the Zorak caught them. They couldn't let that happen. They were so close to the Council of the Stars, the one place that could offer them safety. The bright glow of the council grew larger and larger as they approached. It was a distant, shimmering beacon in the blackness of space, standing as the last hope in a galaxy on the brink of collapse. The children had described it as a place of peace, a sanctuary that existed outside the reaches of the Zorak's relentless hunting. But as they neared, Alex realized that even this last refuge was not invulnerable. The Zorak would stop at nothing to destroy everything in their path. "Faster, Alex," the boy cried, his eyes wide with fear. "We have to make it. We can't let them win." Alex pushed the ship harder, his pulse thundering in his ears. The Zorak ships were now only seconds behind. He could hear their engines roaring, closing, in like predators on the hunt. The Council of the Stars was just ahead, so close but the danger was far from over. Alex's hands shook as he steered the ship, the pressure of the moment threatening to crush him. And then, just as the Zorak were about to strike, something incredible happened. A wave of brilliant, otherworldly energy washed over the ship. Alex could feel it. The ship itself seemed to hum with a deep, resonating power. It wasn't just the Council's light. It was something far more profound. It was as though the very fabric of the universe had shifted, responding to their desperate flight. In that moment, Alex knew that something beyond his understanding was at play. The Zorak ships faltered, their engines sputtering and stalling. It was as if the universe had intervened, halting their pursuit. The dark ships veered off course, spinning away from the path they had been relentlessly following. Alex's heart leapt in his chest. They were safe. For now. The Council of the Stars stood before them, its radiant energy opening up like a gateway, inviting them into its sanctuary. The ship glided toward it, the once imminent threat of the Zorak now nothing more than a fading memory. Alex could hardly believe it. They had made it. As the ship entered the glowing boundary of the Council, the world outside seemed to dissolve. The familiar stars of the galaxy shifted and blurred, and in an instant, Alex found himself on the edge of something far beyond anything he had ever imagined. He stepped out of the ship, the children following him cautiously. They gazed up at the immense structure in awe. The Council of the Stars was not a building in the traditional sense. It was a living, breathing entity. Towering spires of light stretched into the sky, and the very ground beneath their feet pulsed with energy. Alex had never seen anything like it. It was as though they had crossed into another realm altogether, one where time and space no longer held their usual rules. The children were no longer afraid. They stood in the presence of their ancestors, their eyes shining with a quiet joy. This was their home, their people's last hope, and Alex had brought them here. But as they walked deeper into the Council, Alex noticed something strange. The air around them seemed to shift, and a figure stepped forward from the shadows, a being of immense power, glowing with a radiant light that seemed to emanate from within. It was the Council's leader, an ancient being whose presence filled the entire space with calm authority. "You have done what no one else could," the leader said in a voice that resonated with wisdom. "You have saved these children, and, in doing so, you have saved the future of the galaxy." Alex stood frozen, unsure of what to say. He had never been a hero. He was just an ordinary man who had done what he thought was right. But in this moment, standing before the leader of the Council, he realized that he had been a part of something much bigger than himself. He had made a difference. The leader continued, "For your bravery, for your selflessness, and for your unwavering commitment to protect the innocent, we bestow upon you a gift that will change your life and the lives of those around you." The figure raised its hand, and a brilliant light enveloped Alex. He felt a warmth spread through his body, a surge of energy that filled him with power and understanding. It wasn't just physical strength, it was knowledge, wisdom, and the understanding of the universe's deepest mysteries. He felt connected to everything: the stars, the planets, the endless stretches of space. It was as if the very fabric of existence was open to him. "You are no longer just a man," the leader said, its voice echoing in the vastness of the Council. "You are now one with the universe. You have the power to shape its destiny." Alex stood there awestruck. The universe had just given him something beyond his wildest dreams, a gift of unimaginable power. But it wasn't a gift for him alone. It was a gift to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, to defend the innocent, and to fight against the forces of destruction that threatened to tear the galaxy apart. The children looked up at him, their eyes full of gratitude and wonder. They knew that with Alex's newfound power they were safe. The universe had chosen him to be its protector, and he would not fail them. The leader of the Council smiled, a knowing look in its eyes. "Go forth, Alex. The universe now belongs to you as much as it belongs to anyone. Use your gift wisely. With that, the leader stepped back into the light, leaving Alex to contemplate the incredible responsibility he now carried. He had come to the council seeking protection for the children, but he had found something much more. He had found his true purpose. As the light of the council surrounded him, Alex realized that his life would never be the same. He had been given the universe's greatest gift, and now it was his responsibility to protect it. And with that, Alex took his first step into the unknown future, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The universe was counting on him, and he was ready to answer the call.